Radio Lewes. Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Yeah, King Mob's here, and we're continuing our tour of Haunted America. Last week we were in St. Louis, and this week we're going to visit the ruins of Detroit. We're going to get like National Geographical, like archaeological, like Indiana Jonesical. I don't actually think that's a word. But anyway, if we're going down, if we're going out of the downtown area of Detroit, we're going to need a shotgun. Yeah, there's Junior Walker slamming it. He's Senior Walker's son, as everybody who listens to this show knows. We're always trying to play music by Senior, but there's not that many tracks available. Anyway, Junior will do for now. And that's from the golden age. That's when, things in Detroit were 1950s, 1960s. The place was buzzing. They were knocking those cars out, huge gas-guzzling monsters, and all Americans were buying them. And then Motown started, and the music scene just exploded in Detroit. But now it's dead. I mean, really dead. Which I will detail as we go along. But there are still things happen amongst the ruins of Detroit. A kid that grew up from the 80s is Jack White. And I admire his band, the White Stripes, a lot. I admire the way that they kind of sound like Led Zeppelin, but don't. I admire the way that he pretended that the drummer was either his sister or his girlfriend or both, which sounds a little odd, but it did attract attention to his band. And Jack White is a substantial person in the ruins of Detroit. So you want to run a city, you got to have money. That's the big deal. Back in 1980s, kids, I used to play a video game called Sim City. And it was like you set up a little city and you ran it properly and you gave people all the stuff they needed and all the utilities and you charged them tax. And the trick was balancing your tax intake and what you spent on making the city attractive. And one time I decided to just go the other way with the thing. And I didn't do hardly anything for the people of the city and just had a really low tax base. And there were like electricity brownouts, there were plane crashes, the fire department couldn't get to you on time. Everything, the transit system didn't work properly. But you know what? That city, I let it run because you could just leave it running for days. And it kind of kept running. And that's like Detroit is now. But when there was money, when the car industry was big, you had the genius of Berry Gordy. And Berry Gordy wrote this song, Money, and there it is. That's the riff that kicked off Motown. That's money, that is. See, Berry Gordy built Motown on the same lines as the city was already a success. A production line. Take all of the talent, take all of the young talent, harness it properly, get teams of songwriters, teams of singers and performers, people to teach them how to dance. You built Motown. And Berry could see the future. He could see that the old days of race records were over. That if you made what was then American black music, if you made it upbeat and you moved away from the blues, but kept a little of that blues in there, that you would have an enormous audience. And that's exactly what happened with Tamla Motown. Oh, but Berry could see the future all right. And around about 67, 68, he was out of there. He was like, let's get to Los Angeles. Let's get to where the music business is. Let's get to where the weather's good. And goodbye, Detroit. And here's Eddie Holland from the songwriting team, Holland, Dozier Holland, and he's leaving here. So Motown left the Motor City. Aretha stayed until recently, Queen of Soul. And you just think to yourself, or I do, why did Aretha never record for Motown? Seems like a shoo-in. I guess there were loads of things in the way, but it's an intriguing thought to think that songs like Heard It Through the Grapevine, Every Little Bit Hurts, even My Guy, could have been Aretha's. She did a fine job on just about everything, though, so I'm going to play Queen of Detroit Soul. Slowly passed, but, boy, never goes away.
You're all I need to get by. 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 As long as I got you, then baby, you know that you got me. Oh, still got our love and some R-E-S-P-C-T. Oh, like sweet morning dew, to one look at you. And it was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me up that hill. There's no looking back. You're all I
Yeah, that's the late, great Queen of Detroit, Aretha Franklin. And there'll be monuments to Aretha, and there'll be statues, and all justified. But there won't be any for Mitch Ryder. Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels were kind of one of the smaller acts on Motown. And when Motown went to L.A. and hit the big time, Mitch didn't go with. But, boy, he made some fine records.
Looking mighty now, here she comes, wearing a wig hat and shades to match. Got her high-heeled shoes and an alligator hat, wearing her pearls and a diamond ring. Got bracelets on her finger and everything. Devil with the blue dress on. She's the devil with the blue dress on. Lord have mercy. Devil with the blue dress on. Devil with the blue dress on. Hey, wearing a perfume Chanel number 5. Got to be the finest girl alive. You walk real cool, catches everybody's eye. I got to be nervous, I can't say hi. Not too skinny, she's not too fat. She's a real humdinger and I like her like that. Devil with the blue dress on. She's the devil with the blue dress on. Hey, I say now, devil with the blue dress on. Yeah, the devil with the blue dress on. Good golly, Miss Miley, so like a boy. Yeah, golly, Miss Miley, so like a boy. Anybody in the evening, don't you give your mama a call. From the early morning to the early night, you see Miss Miley rocking at the house of tonight. Good golly, Miss Miley, you sure like a boy. Oh yeah, rocking and you're rolling. Can't you hear your mama call? Wearing a pearl and a diamond ring, got bracelets on her finger now and everything. Devil with a blue dress on. The devil with the blue dress on. I love that devil with the blue dress. All right, gonna sock it to me now. Got to jump up now. Got to feel it.
Yeah, well, that was kind of an Motown record, and more like the other side of Detroit. We've already had a little touch of the other side of Detroit with White Stripes, and we're going to get some more as we move along, because underneath that big old Motown machine, with its smooth running, there were all kinds of splintery things that we can still find in the ruins of Detroit. But before we go there, got to talk about Jackie Wilson, because Jackie Wilson was a genius without context. I mean, the guy could do anything. Like Elvis said, he was a wonderful singer. He could dance better than James Brown. I mean, Jackie had everything except context. Even the idea of Motown comes to some degree from Jackie Wilson, because Berry Gordy worked for him for a long time and wrote songs for him and produced for him. And then when he went to do the Motown thing, I guess Jackie was just too big to do it with. Just too, Berry needed people that were more malleable, younger, more open to ideas. Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye, Holland Dozier Holland, Diana Ross, all of these people were young. Jackie was just the full deal. And he I think he might have done one record for Motown, but it didn't amount to much. So I'm going to play you something real interesting, I think. Jackie worked with Count Basie and did a version of Stevie Wonder's I Was Made to Love Her. Yeah, well, people have said about Count Basie that, it's riffs. Apparently even Black Sabbath were big Count Basie fans in the early days. And Count Basie was kind of, beginning of the riff. And that's a great riff, and that's a fantastic record. 67, 68, just as Motown's shifting out of town, another kind of music develops, and another kind of Detroit musician develops. From the white side of the tracks, here's the irrepressible, the irreconcilable, the almost immobile Ted Nugent with the Amboy Dukes.
Years behind, come with us and find the pleasures of a journey to the center of the mind. Come along if you care, come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind, beyond the seas of God. the streets of hopes and dreams where things are really not. Come along if you can. Come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind. But please realize you'll probably be surprised. For it's a land unknown to man where fantasy is back. So if you can, please understand, you might not come back. Come along if you can. Come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside and you'll see how happy life could be if all of mankind would take the time to journey to the center of the mind. Would take the time to journey to the center of the mind. Center of the mind.
Yeah, that's Ted ripping up with some weird old guitar. Ted never really fitted in to the Detroit scene. But then, as I say, once Motown went, who did? What was going on? I mean, George Clinton was there with Parliament and Funkadelic, and George wouldn't have fitted with Motown or more or less anything. But I love George Clinton. I'm going to play you Up for the Downstroke by Parliament.
Talking about getting married. Let's take it to the stage. Get up for the down. Get up for the down. Everybody get up. 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 Everybody get up. Get up for the down. Everybody get up. Get up for the down. Everybody get up. All right. Having a party, y'all. Up for the down. Ain't no time for no talk. Down on the real side. Get up for the down. Everybody get up. Get up for
Yeah, let's leave George out there on the funk. He's probably still there. In my opinion, George will be there forever. Even after he's dead, George will still be funking. How about Eminem, huh? How about Eminem? Remember Eminem? Kid from 8 Mile district of Detroit. Seen the movie 8 Mile? His mum was a bit of a mess. But one time she had a boyfriend that collected weird vinyl records. And in that collection was a track by a performer from London. An openly gay performer in a time when openly gay performers didn't do that well. A guy called Labi Siffre made this fabulous record. And boy, that kid Eminem, he just kept listening to it, over and over and over. And maybe he could work it into something,
But I don't mind.
like a Slim Shady thing or
All I have
something.
to do is get to you, and then I feel just fine. I'm on a down, but not all the way. When I'm feeling low, you do your thing just so, and then I feel okay. You're so good, the way you give. You're so good, you're the best there is. I got the blues, got it all so bad. When I think of me, it's hard to be a person quite so sad. You got the answer, and it makes me glad. When I'm feeling slow, you give me rock and roll, and then I feel laid back. You're so good, the way you give. You're so good, you're the best there is.
My name is Slim Shady. Well, you know what I mean. I don't do that very well, but here it is. You think about it. So that's one way that Detroit connects with London, through Labi Siffre, to Eminem, through hip-hop. And I've got some form here, I got to tell you. I feel a little bad when I was researching this, and I realized that back in the late 80s, I had recorded... Oh, that was Eminem again. Actually, it's not Eminem. It's Labi Siffre, but... So that's early 1970s. And, of course, that's when I had a shark car, or my band did, and that shark car was a Pontiac Le Mans, and we crashed it into a tree, and it was made in Detroit. And Detroit has got, as is well known, Stephen King wrote his only non-fiction novel, Christine, on the true incident of the demon car. And John Carpenter, the filmmaker, made a documentary film about it. And so Christine, the demon car, was made in the early 70s, and maybe that's why the whole thing went wrong. Yeah, well, John Carpenter's on real hot form, and boy, love that track. I've got to play more John Carpenter. Can't get enough. And Detroit themed. And yet another thing that links Detroit to London is the gorgeous Susie Quatro, who is just, I don't know, the woman's like a national treasure now, but she came out of Detroit via a very weird route. People maybe don't remember, but Happy Days was like the big show in America, and the Fonz was the big character, and the Fonz had a girlfriend called Leather Tuscadero. Really. And Leather Tuscadero was a regular, and then she had this young sister called Pinky Tuscadero, and Susie played Pinky. I'm not making this up. I know I make a lot up. I know I lie. I lied about the Rolling Stones, and I lied about the Beatles, and I'm sorry. And I am going to lie about Ray Davis soon. But this is the absolute truth. So Susie gets her break on Happy Days, and then instead of turning that into a record deal in America, and I never understood this bit, but she came over to England, and she blags her way into Mickey Most, the top producer's office, and plays him some songs. And he says, yeah, let's just make you part of the 70s glam rock scene. And boy, Susie's great.
And your boyfriend's name was Eagle.
I wonder what that song's about. If you dial in songs on Google, sometimes it says meaning. And I look at the meaning sometimes and I think, I have no idea what you're on about. It doesn't mean what you think it does. Quite often songs mean strange things, but can they can? Anyway, answers on a postcard, please. If anybody knows what the song's about, then do by all means let me know. Iggy Pop, out of Detroit. I mean, Iggy is almost a graphic. I mean, the man's a ruin. I mean, he's just wonderfully. I mean, he looks like an ancient ruin. I mean, we're doing the ruins of Detroit, and Iggy is that thing, except he's still animated by this weird Half-Life zombie-type energy, which means that, and I am victim to this myself. I walk around and I'm just a guy, and then, as everyone knows, I get up on stage and there's a beat going and I get a little wacky and I start to move. And Iggy's obviously the same way. Got a lot of time for the Igster. He's also about the only mainstream DJ on a mainstream channel I've got any time for. I mean, you can keep your Guy Garveys for me and, the Tom Robinsons, and they're like so after the fact. I'm so sorry. I mean, I really shouldn't insult these people because I like them when they play Sharks records and it's great. But you know what? I mean, honestly, if things are wacky, you just got to say they're whack. And, I'm not here to insult Radio 6. Maybe I am, actually. Anyway, here's the Igster, and he took a song that he kind of wrote, and then David Bowie did a fabulous pop song version of it, and China Girl, and it was really sexy, cool pop song. But when Iggy did it, it's like just a really weird kind of... I don't know what it is. Anyway, here's The Ruin of Detroit.
I stumbled into town just like a sacred cow. Visions of swastikas in my head and plans for everyone. It's in the she says, shh.
Yeah, well, there's the Igster. Sorry, I didn't have time to play all of that. I'm going to play some more Iggy. I don't play enough Iggy Pop. Detroit. You're more or less finished. I mean, give up now. I mean, you've nearly got 50% unemployment. There are areas of Detroit that have 250% more crime than the American average. You can buy a house in Detroit for $8,000, but your life will be a living nightmare. Or really go for it and take Wilson Pickett, who's not from Detroit, but certainly made his name with the Falcons there. And Wilson will tell you, people of Detroit, if you're going to pull it together, 99.5 just won't do. Yeah, well, wise words from Wilson. It's going to take a lot to bring Detroit back to life, I'll tell you that. I mean, there's some glimmers of hope. Tiny areas have mutated into new kinds of communities where they brought in generators because it's not profitable to put the electric in, and they do their own water cleaning. But there are radical experiments going on in Detroit in how you can live in an urban neighborhood that's just ruined. And let's hope we ever need to know the results of those experiments, because yesterday's Detroit, tomorrow, who knows? Anyway, here's a cheer up for Detroit, and it's by Sufjan Stevens, who is a great, I don't know what he is. He's a great composer, singer, songwriter, lyricist that hardly anybody knows about. I like Sufjan. Maybe you will too. I'm going to finish this show with, what's it called? Cheer Up Detroit, the track? Oh no, it's called Detroit. Lift up your weary head. Rebuild. Restore. Reconsider. And I'll see you next week when we do the Smell of Memphis.
can say, all I can do, people move, that decision.
Radio Lewes. Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.